I might have the printer here.
Okay.
We'll see.
I just look at it, I only have Midget printers on mine.
I don't blame them for that.
But you
Thank
can
you.
go on
I
and I'll
appreciate
just
it.
look. I'll have to see if I have here.
Oh.
But I don't
Some
have
text still here?
Bruno probably does. Bruno, do you have access to that printer? You have everything.
How about if we send it to
those computers and see.
While we discuss this, let's go into our action items. Approval of financial statements.
So moved.
Moved by Ellen, second by Fiona. Hugh, do you have anything to say on the financial statements?
No, just,
Don't be humble. We have a lot to say on the financial
yeah,
statements.
well, even as a team working through paraprofessional, tutors, payroll timesheets, you know, working very diligently on the salary. We hope to have that, everything to you guys by the next November meeting.
If you peruse the monthly budget sheets, you will see several items that are over 100% by a lot. The problem was recording issues. There are certain people that were coded not necessarily to the right code, and they are in the process of straightening out employee codes. And some of our items are going to be high because, you know, an item has been budgeted based on our past expenses. What we have found, or Hugh has found, that not everything was charged to that item. It was sometimes charged to another item. So in clearing those up, am I correct in saying?
Yes.
In clearing those up, it shows an inflation in one item, but you will see a correction in another item. And by doing some bookkeep cleaning, and you're just seeing, you know, a better transparency of this cost being where it should be on the line item sheet instead of, and I'll use an example that we questioned years ago. There was a tutor for disabilities that never got used, but got transferred every year to the tutor line item, because that person ended up just getting paid out of the general tutor line item, yet we budgeted for that specific position every year and then transferred the money out, because the person was just recorded in the general tutor line item. So as Hugh's department has been cleaning that up, you will see over the next couple of months, it's a work in progress. You're going to see increases, decreases. We have grant positions that are currently being recorded that were never recorded before because they were netted out. And you will see the revenue of the grant, and you will now see the expense. So we're going to see some changes in those numbers, and we just want you guys to know that before you get real excited and you see something, because there's one at like 189 or 190%, and it's kind of glaring, but it's just that it was a recording issue in the past that we're trying to straighten out.
And the other thing is, again, we're gonna blow out, like tutors,
Yep.
it's expanded, give it more detail, we're gonna do the same thing. It was brought up that tuition and, you know, transportation, various line items need more detail for you guys.
Yep. Andrew?
Two questions. One, I raised the issue last meeting, which was the Latin class. Did we budget for a Latin teacher?
Not a full time, point
It was a
point four?
point four.
And
Have we
is that
found
money now surplus money, or is it going to just that item? Not the entire account, teacher's account, just
No, it's still there.
that point four. So that's going to be surplus money?
Hopefully not, hopefully we'll find someone.
I think that's, I asked the issue of the cost of maintaining the athletic fields now that we have the turf. We have a net positive,
It's gonna
negative.
It's gonna run between cheapest $42.50 a year to level 4 service, which would be core grooming visits, that concussion testing, cleaning, I guess seam repair after it comes off warranty, and any, that would be $87.50.
8,750.
Right.
But that doesn't include the sweeping. That is just the outside service to come in,
Right.
and then there will be the cost of the sweepings that happen in between games.
And then you have to budget approximately $30,000 a year for a replacement of the field after 10 years, the playing surface.
Okay,
It's about $300,000.
so we budgeted before, we didn't know we were gonna have this turf there. We budgeted $27,000 to maintain the fields, right? Or
All the
maintain that part of the
No,
field.
all the fields.
Okay, how much did we budget just to maintain?
That was never broken out that I know of, Andrew.
Okay,
I know we've asked, but I don't believe we ever got that number. I know the 27 was the outside maintenance for
okay.
the whole field area. I don't know what the specific.
As far as you said, there's a capital item related to this, which you're saying that after 10 years or 12 years that we
Yeah,
will?
they said, I sent it out to the Connecticut Business Managers List Service and solicited feedback from various schools in the area. I got a pretty good report from Amity, a lot of detail from Jack Levine there, and he said that's what they do. They budget $30,000 a year, and they're figuring in 10 years they'll have to replace the playing surface. So it's about $300,000.
How does the Board of Ed do that, being that we close out our books at the end of the fiscal year? Where does that, where do we get
That's
the
the conversations we've been having, that Eleanor's been bringing up, that we need to look into a way to set that up and have some type of revolving fund needed for musical instruments. Trying to remember everything that was discussed at that budget meeting.
Athletic and your music programs. Looking at sinking fund or setting the funds up. I mean, the city can certainly sink those funds, you know,
Right.
And set up a capital account to do so.
And it would be earmarked for the Board of Ed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, does it work the same way in a regional school district where if there is surplus, you can earmark like up to 1%
Yes.
for capital? So you
Yes.
might, you know, if we save some money this year, which I hope to do with everyone's participation, you know, maybe we could fund it like that.
And that's great that we're, Chairman and Mayor is talking about that. And then the last issue related to finances is with the collapse of oil as of the last couple of weeks, do we have mobility to take advantage of it, or are we looking at?
No, and I don't have the number in front of me, but we had struck before settled on a price before the school year started, because, you know, we need relatively the cheapest possible price at that point. Looked at the consortium. I think David looked at, you know, other providers in the area. I think he went with East River Energy. I'll have to get you the numbers for number 2 diesel and fuel oil. So,
Does the city do it the same way? or
We lock in, yes.
You lock in as
Yeah.
well?
No,
And I'm
you-
not sure what rate, and,
I'll have to find out for you. I'll
Yeah.
send you an email. But the one thing we didn't lock in at, and I'm happy we didn't now, because electrical costs are coming down like a rock. And Constellation New Energy, who was who we were with, who we are with until December, had been pressuring us to strike, and I know the board allows us to do that, but I tend to want to wait a little bit because it is dropping fast. So, see how low can you go?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on the financials? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention, Mr. Knight, because he wasn't here for those. All right. Approval of certificate of resolution, grant for Right Response Connecticut Network Program.
Motion to approve.
Fiona, second. Ellen, discussion?
question. This resolution to this doesn't, it's not specific to this grant. should it state in here? This seems to be a blanket resolution that authorizes signature of every document for everything forever.
This was the resolution that accompanied the grant. We signed it last year when we got the grant for the first time.
And
So
I'm
that's
just
the
wondering
point.
if we should just tweak it a little bit, and because it says, on behalf of the Torrance Board of Education, and to do and perform all acts and things which the superintendent deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents. It's not specific to the grant, but just very, very blanket. I think we should squeak in here somewhere what it is.
Is that their form or?
Therefore,
Check this out if it could be.
it's the grant recognition.
Two questions.
Yes.
Can we alter a state document for the grant without checking with them?
No,
Okay. Second question is there a timeline involved? So if we don't do this tonight, will we lose the grant?
I guess I'll find out about that too. The training dates are already in effect, yeah.
Okay. And the total value on this grant?
15,000.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
And how do you want it
Those are-
written?
We have a motion on the floor, we gotta act out first.
Okay.
Those in favor of approving the certificate of resolution for the grant for the Right Response Connecticut Network Program? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? Abstention? Mr. Kisco is opposed, Mr. Knight is an abstention. Thank you. Approval of the timeline, do we have anything to approve at this point, Daniel? or-
As discussed.
I'll go with Mr. Kisco.
Approval of the timeline for Board of Ed self-evaluation as discussed.
I will motion.
We'll give it to Dan. Second? Oh, Fiona, let's see. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Nargi is opposed. All right, we're gonna take D out because we said we're looking for more information on snow removal. Consent agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
John. Second, Daniel. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstention? One abstention, Mr. Knight. Comments for the good of the order. Mr. Nargi.
Okay, first one, news article on all the news networks last night that a major school district in the state is looking to implement student uniforms for the next school year for their district. And I just thought it was great that another district is taking a good idea that I had, and hopefully this board will think about it again. Okay, second thing is, I like the whole concept of what Mr. Cavanero was talking about, but I would let, as far as having more oversight or by the city of what the board does, I'm more concerned about this trying to establish some type of relationship where the city has some oversight over, let's say, I can't quite say the right word, I want to say something to the nature of misconduct by the board. And I'm not saying it's like evil things the board does, it's just, I have a problem with how this board has seemed to go over the last several years, with being very, they create a budget, they go before the Board of Finance, they say, this snapshot is what we need the money for, and then after Board of Finance approves the money, some major changes take place. Not that the changes were unusual in the sense that they became spontaneous, but they were actually planned by the administration. They were in the administration's mind to implement, but they weren't transparent to the Board of Finance. And it's not like it's not like the administration wants to do anything evil or anything. They want to better the school district. But I just think there needs to be a respect for that budget process with the Board of Finance, with the city, with the mayor, of transparency. And I'd like for the city to try to establish some type of oversight and say to the Board of Education, this is what you told us, and there's going to be repercussions when you tell us that snapshot of what you're trying to get money for is not being implemented into the future. And that's about it. Nothing evil, just I'd like to see more oversight.
Mr. Knight, do you have any comments for the good of the order?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Rid?
I'm remiss, I don't have anything from Southeast Schools or 8 Hour. But I will be here tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to be observing the PLCs. I just think we do the Thursday early dismissal, and just want to see what's going on. I'm not trying to micromanage anyone. I'm just observing. So I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been in the high school for months.
Ellen?
I'm my usual East School. A quote from Sue Ferguson: I honestly can't remember a happier startup. For their curriculum night, they have 97% of the families in attendance. Full day kindergarten is in full swing. They're well adjusted, and said they're already heads and shoulders above where they would have been if only half days. Their numeracy coach this year is already making an incredible difference in all grade levels. They had a garden this summer, and families took turns taking care of it, and they harvested it, and then they used, for curriculum night, they used what they reaped from the garden. They made salsa and things, so they used it in their curriculum night. So kids were just so proud of it. And they're gearing up now for Harvest Hop, which is Friday the 17th from 6 to 7:30.
One I'd just like to say in reference to Mr. Nerch's comments that none of these things really just pop out of the sky. When members of the board attend the actual committee meetings where all of these things are discussed, they're well informed of these items. And I also want to kind of carry that over to the city, because these ideas of getting together are not new. And years ago, as you'll remember, when Bruce Cornish was on, he was at every single budget meeting every month. He never missed, knew exactly what was going on. Same when Wendy Traub was on the Board of Finance. So there is a breakdown in communication, and I welcome that we're going to be getting together. The way it was presented at the last meeting of what was going to happen concerns me a little bit. I hope that the city has good intentions to actually work with the Board of Ed. And, the Board of Ed has gotten a lot accomplished through the years. And the last thing is, I really wish we could have avoided this debacle tonight regarding the backfilling of these positions. And I hope the Republican Town Committee will seriously consider interviewing that woman that came forward. I think she's genuinely interested. We all know, Republican, Democrat, that these are hard positions to fill because of the amount of time commitment. So finding someone that really wants to do it and is looking to seek out people, I hope you'll consider it.
Just to kind of parlay off that, I think it's important at this point, since first of all, let me say this, the past practices that we've had for nominating to backfill the positions, I like the process. I have nothing against the process that we've used. My contention is that we don't currently have that defined as our process. we're just saying, well, we've done this forever, and that's how we're doing it. And what that's resulted in is a waste of an hour of our valuable time at the beginning of this meeting, I think, as we discussed more the process than anything else. I think that's where a lot of the contention was. So I would suggest that either the city or the board, however we want to structure it, actually get a process by which we're going to have the town committees actually nominate these folks with hard deadlines within our 60-day time frame, to where we have an opportunity to actually talk about it, not 3 days before the 60 days is up. I think that is more than reasonable, and I'll just leave it at that. The game on Saturday, I didn't hit the soccer games because they're middle of the week. It's tough for me to do that, but Saturday, the football game was absolutely wonderful. A lot of folks were out. I brought a bunch of the kids from the Little League up there. They had a blast. They thought the field was the coolest thing they'd ever seen. I know there's concerns with it, but I think it was a very positive thing for a lot of folks out there. I know I had a good time. Popcorn was good and all that good stuff. That being said, we do have Little League football going on down at the middle school every Saturday morning. Anybody wants to come out and have some hot dogs and hopefully watch my team win, come on down. And something I didn't even think I was going to talk about until Andrew brought it up. If you ever want to talk about uniforms, I'm all for it. Okay, that's it.
Dan?
Nothing.
John?
We will be talking about this City Council Board of Education liaison at some point, or is this the time, the only time to do that?
City Council Board of Education.
Well, the way the City Council has invited us to,
No, we're gonna discuss that as soon
Okay.
as these get handed out. I'm just trying to get in time. We only have 10 minutes left.
and all I have to say is the comments for the good of the order. CTN has an interesting hearing for the Freedom of Information Commission on the chairman of the Berlin school system, the chairman of the Berlin Board of Education, who's in exactly the same position as this board and one of its members was in about a year ago this time. And it lasts an hour and a half, and I would be delighted to send anybody the link to it. And for those of us who were around at that time, the person who investigated the board chairman in Berlin, whom we have seen, he's been an invited guest to the Torrington Board of Ed, the person who did that investigation here also did that investigation in Berlin. And I guess it's a cottage industry, I'm not sure, but it's an interesting hearing. I'd be delighted to send you the link if anyone wants to see it.
Eleanor? Do we want to hand out Eleanor's paperwork?
Exactly, yeah.
Pie chart here. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
You took my phone.
That's because it's 9:30.
This will be John's rolling his eyes at me, I'm gonna stay longer. I knew that was going to happen.
All right, just to save everyone, so if I could just on page 2, which would be volume 26, page 363, if you, the boxed section, which was section B, added to the agenda that evening, probably if you were to cut down to the third paragraph from the bottom, just trying to make it as easy as possible for you. I think this summarizes what the general intent was. You know, what we're looking to do is we're looking for economies, fluidity of budget information to be put into context with the whole city budget. That it was my suggestion, it was my rephrasing of the motion that what we were looking to do is issue an invitation to the Board of Education to create an open line of communication about board goals and how they are to be funded, piggybacking on the 3-meeting schedule that was proposed by Councilor Cavanero. I saw the value in that open dialogue between the city and the Board of Education as to goals as they relate to what I'm hearing in the city side with economic development, what are the needs of our businesses and the city at large. As we look at the Board of Education budget, which we all know that it is 4 months of painstaking, where do we cut, what's, what do we need, how do we get from what we really want to accomplish to what we really can reasonably afford, putting that into context so that the city council can likewise, in a similar timeline and vein, be looking at our own departments, the very departments that the city council has control over. City council has no control over the Board of Education budget. Board of Finance only has bottom line control over this budget. I think what was critical here is that the genuine concern and the genuine intent here was to build lines of communication. And to do so in such a way that we're included in goals, we're included in, prior to the development of the budget, we can share with the Board of Education what's the city challenged with, Going into next year's budget, I can tell you right away, we have 53 pay periods that we can't so I'm immediately looking at $440,000 increase in the budget, how I'm gonna offset that increase. So it puts into context for you what the city's challenges are. And I think the third meeting, and this was the suggestion of, and actually the opinion of the entire council, was that at the end of your school year, hearing, the reflection of the board, did you accomplish, your goals? How were you able to financially cover those goals? I know last year we got pretty close to the end of the year and there was, a serious concern about not being able to fulfill the obligations of a grant that could put into peril potentially some technology goals. So that's what we're trying to do. 3 meetings as opposed to 12. It's an invitation. It's certainly not a mandate, but
all of the city council members do know they're always welcome to come, right?
they do. And if I may, to that end, because your agendas are, full, and we struggle to get through the entire agenda, and I'm going to rephrase that, our agendas, because I'm a member of this board. Our agendas are very full, so certainly a city council member can sit here and hear everything that you have to say, but it's not a dialogue. It's not that conversation that informs each board and each counselor as to, what it is that we're trying to accomplish. Now, I will say, as I listened to the presentation of Ms. Aird, which was great, by the way, I'm reading here, working as a team, the entire Torrington community, school district, and city contributes to the development of each child. I mean, clearly the administrative staff recognizes that we're all in this together. This isn't something that the board versus the city and we're fighting for each other's dollars. We're in this together. And if we're in it together, you can't do it unless we're having this open line of communication. And that was the spirit of the conversation on Monday.
I'm just looking at the minutes, I don't get that same inclination that was the spirit of the conversation. And I know that it wasn't all members. However, when you look under scheduled meetings, the second paragraph, similar to look at the budget drivers of the forthcoming year in January, agreed. And then to basically have a performance review at the end of the year of how well they met their goals.
I don't see performance review.
Yeah, it says that.
Performance review.
Does it?
Yeah, I do a performance review at the end of the year and how well they met their goals.
Who said that, and where's that?
Mr. Cavanero says it.
Cavanero.
Second paragraph under scheduled meetings on page 3.
And admittedly, I will tell you, I mean, certainly when there's a dialogue that goes on like that, you know, every board member has, or every council member has
Right.
an opinion.
Right.
But I can tell you with absolute strict confidence that the spirit of this conversation was very much collaborative and team building. It was not about, and to Mr. Nargi's point earlier, when he says oversight, I don't think we're looking for oversight. I think what we're looking for is collaboration.
And I think if that's the spirit that this is happening, it could be very successful. But I can tell you from my perspective, spending the amount of hours we spend at meetings, I'm not gonna go 3 times a year if it's just gonna be a beat down of what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So if we wanna work together, then it needs to be just that, working
Absolutely.
together.
Well, it's curious that they use words like partnership, information sharing, but when I read it, it's a one-way street. They want the Board of Education to come and report to them. I've been really thinking about this since it appeared in the paper, because I know there's a person on the city council that has an axe to grind with the Board of Education. And I really am not interested in going to the city council and having that person grind their axe with us. Also, I know the mayor, she attends our meetings, and I really appreciate that, and I really think that she's well aware of what our goals are. She actually could have attended when we set the goals. I'm assuming she was too busy. I'm not saying there's any other reason. I don't know how she does what she does, okay? I really respect that. And I do respect that there are times when you have great insights here. But Mayor, there's also times when I leave feeling that I was lectured to, like a naughty child. And I also think there are times when you are condescending. I don't think you do that on purpose.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, point of order. Is this a personal attack on me?
No, I'm not.
Yes, it is, and I'm offended. We're talking about a process.
I'm
that the
trying
city
to
council-
explain why I would not want to go there.
I think that your point is, if
Okay.
you have an objection to this because you feel there'll be a personal axe to grind, then your
Well-
point was made with just that statement. And
That's
I'd
why
appreciate
I
if the
tried to say I
chairman would
appreciate
take
you
control of
being here
this.
and I appreciate your insights, because I didn't want it to sound like, but I know it does sound like, so I apologize, all right? I just would not want, I think it's not a sharing, it's not a partnership. It's we're going to give a performance review. We're a duly elected board in Torrington by the taxpayers. That's who we owe our performance review to during elections. That's my, and Eleanor, I apologize. I realize it came off that way. I didn't mean it to, okay?
And I'm reading the city charter, and it says that the time the Board of Council can compel a city board, commission, committee, blah, 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 is in the investigatory power segment of the charter. I'm also, and that doesn't apply, I mean, I would just totally reject any idea that we would be investigated by the city council, which has a separate identity. We're not responsible to the city council. They have a role in the budget-making process. The visuals here would be awful, too. We would be sitting down there on the floor, the same place, for instance, that the fire chief and the sit at public safety meetings and the department heads do in council meetings, the way we do in the finance meetings that we have to go to. And it makes us look, and I'm with Paul on this one, like somehow they are superior to us, and in fact, they are not. We have a separate identity defined by the state of Connecticut. I have no interest in meeting with the town council on this basis. If they want to come here and sit in those chairs, let's see if they do that. I'd be happy to do that.
I'm sure the seating arrangements could be, I understand that they're sitting up behind if they get a black cushion chair, I'd want a black cushion chair. To be honest, I would.
you're talking about the Vietnam War, deciding on the chairs that they were.
Well, I'm just saying, they're sitting in those
Shape of
nice
the
soft
table.
Yeah, the
chairs.
shape of the table, right.
Absolutely.
Everyone would have to sit in the same chair.
But those visuals are important.
Well, we did the budget once on the stage at the Little Theater because there was a better acoustics, it was easier to hear, and everyone felt we were talking down to them because we were on the stage. And it was, well, we put you in soft, reclining, comfortable chairs instead of those. It was, the intent was to make it more comfortable and more inviting, and in fact, it gave the opposite image. So, yes.
I think the intent is to collaborate, to share, to partner. I think that how this is worded is not,
Well, I think you have to take
It's
Paul out of the
what's
conversation.
Council
You have
members
to-
I know.
wording.
we know
If
that.
you read every other council member here, you know,
I understand,
the-
I understand that, but how it, but one bad apple. Do you know what I mean? It kind of, so, but I think the intent is good, and it would be nice to have a partnership. But I think it needs to be worked on.
Well, I mean,
On how to do
so
it.
I think the
I think
format
it's
is very
premature to
flexible.
make all these determinations. I mean, let's have a meeting. January's coming up, let's do this, let's see how this works. Right.
Dan or Jeremy? Jeremy says no.
A valuable partnership and a new insight is always a welcome back. So I would hate to shut a door on the possibility of expanding where we're going or what options we have. To that same end, I will agree with John and Paul on this. If during the course of the meeting it appears as how the elected officials are being talked down to by another group of elected officials, I think it would be a good idea to walk out of the meeting and never walk back in.
So let's set ground rules before it starts.
And very honestly.
And we're sure that,
Very
yeah,
honestly,
never
you know,
mind. I'm not saying it.
it is always the role of the chair to control that, the very dynamic of a meeting. So you're absolutely right, you know, I mean, the burden would be on the chair of that meeting. If it's more appetizing to this board, that the first meeting be held here where the city council is, you know, is sitting at the board meeting, and you want to set up a table and we'll have that dialogue, that it be a single agenda item dialogue, then I can see the value.
Well, it's 9 less meetings than we agreed to a year ago.
You know,
Just saying, we agreed to 12, this is 9 less.
and it
Okay,
can
we
be
have 2
mixed
minutes.
messages, all, you know, so.
I didn't say anything, so.
Do you want to say anything?
We have 2 minutes.
I didn't see you put your hand up.
Do you want to extend time then?
I have 2 minutes?
You have one.
Okay, 1 minute. There's 3 incidents of this board where I think the conduct is extremely questionable.
Is this about the council?
The first issue was the superintendent hiring an assistant.
Point of order. This has nothing to do with.
We're talking about the
city
meeting.
council meetings.
But we're talking about what is the relationship between the city council, the mayor, the board of finance, and this board of education. And when this board of education acts inappropriately and it condones its own inappropriate behavior, I like to think that the mayor or the city council or the board of finance should be able to investigate what this board is doing and
That's
hold.
what voters are for, though,
It's
Andy.
9:45.
But we are at 9:45. Can I get a motion to table the rest of this to the next Board of Ed meeting? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Yes, no, all in favor? Aye. 9:45.